it's sort of seen that that boosts your ego as a man.
Was that as a young man, I think at 17, 18, I started dating and realized that it's a very fascinating thing to have sex and so forth. So we had lots of what we called friends with benefits.
There's no price like the ShopRite price, which means you'll get low prices on everything you need, like a pack of 105 Roses tea bags, only $39.99, and a 500-gram brick of Rama Original, just $18.99. The ShopRite price, the price you can trust, always.
Welcome to My Zone Online School. My name is Mr. Masia. Let us also say hello to my friend. Today's grade 6 lesson is on natural science. But before we can begin, please let us remember to wear our facial mask, and also let us use our sanitizer. So let us take a few squints in our hands and quickly rub our hands around and in there. Get around your fingers as well. And another important thing to remember is to keep the distance. So let us just stretch our arms on the sides as well as in front to ensure we are not touching each other. Today's lesson is puberty and sexual development. Let us now turn to page 17, where we will look at puberty and sexual development. What are the basic competencies we will encounter during this lesson? You should be able to describe the differences between the reproductive organs of a male and female from given diagrams. You should also be able to explain the role of the basic structures of male and female reproductive organs. Vocabulary. What are the words that we will encounter during this lesson? One of the most important words to know is organ, which refers to a group of tissues working together. Now, this group of tissues can be self-contained, they can be inside the body of the organism, or they can be outside the body of an organism. Examples include the lungs, your heart, and your eyes. The next word is the human reproductive system. It is the system in the human body that reproduces and bears live offspring. In other words, it's responsible for making babies. Let us now turn over to page 18. You should be able to describe the differences between the reproductive organs of a male and a female from given diagrams. So here on page 18, we have two diagrams, one on the left and one on the right, of a male and female. The human reproductive system is so similar, and yet it is very different from each other, but there are a lot of complements to these bodies. Now, if you want to state a difference between the reproductive organs of a male and female from a given diagram, then we have to look at the organs that these body systems in-house. And for most of the male reproductive system, you will find that it is located outside of the man's body. And these external structures are the penis, the scrotum, and the testes. Most of the female's reproductive system is located inside the woman's body. The vulva is the only external organ, and it houses, yes, other organs, but it will be the only one visible from outside. Now, the male reproductive system also produces, maintains, transports, and nourishes sperm cells, and also adds a protective fluid that is going to protect this sperm cell. And this protective fluid, we refer to it as the semen. Now, once the semen has been deposited, once the semen has been deposited into the female's reproductive system, the female has another responsibility, which is to develop the fertilized egg into a baby. Let us now turn to page 19, where we will look at the female reproductive organs. Remember here that we are expected to describe the role of the basic structures of a male and female reproductive system. Let us turn to the chalkboard so we can discuss this in detail. Now on the chalkboard with me, I have the female reproductive organ. And we are now just going to label it, and afterwards, that is when we will look at the role of these structures. The first one that we have on my left here is the ovary. Now, the ovary is a structure that is both on the left side and also on the right side. That is the ovary. Then from the ovary, we have another structure, which is right here. It is actually a tube that is coming from the ovaries, and it goes all the way to another structure. This structure is known as the fallopian tube. And there are also two sets on this. Another name for the fallopian tube is the oviduct. Another name for the fallopian tube is the oviduct. Do not worry if you cannot see the words very well. You can just turn to your book on page 19 and you will be able to see the structures there. Okay, the next structure we are going to label is right here, and this structure we refer to it as the uterus. Refer to it as the uterus, and from the uterus we have a structure responsible for closing and opening known as the cervix. And from the cervix we have the vagina. Let us turn back to page 19 and look at our clear diagram. Now, on the diagram, you can see the labeled structures of the female reproductive organs. You are expected to be able to identify these structures and label these structures. The role of the basic structures of female reproductive organs. Let us discuss what is it that they do. Let us now look at the role of the basic structures of the female reproductive organs. Right at the bottom of page 19, you have a table that shows us the organ name as well as its role or use. The cervix is responsible for connecting the vagina to the uterus. And the uterus develops a fertilized egg into a baby, while the fallopian tubes or oviduct connects the ovaries to the uterus. And the ovaries produce egg cells and hormones. Let us now turn over to page 20, where on page 20, we will now look in detail at the male reproductive organs. Now, if we turn to the chalkboard, we will find that the male reproductive organ can actually look a little bit complicated when it comes to labeling it or following its structure. You have to have a starting point and an ending point. And for this structure, our starting point will be at the scrotum. Now, the scrotum is part of the external organs that hangs outside the man's body. But inside the scrotum, we have a structure known as the testis. We have the structure known as the testis, and from the testis, we have another structure which is coming from the testis going outwards, and this organ is referred to as the vas deferens. And the vas deferens goes on and connects to another structure, and this structure is referred to as the seminal vessel. And from the seminal vessel, there's another structure where it goes into called the prostate gland. From the prostate gland, there's another tube, and this tube is known as the urethra, and the urethra is in-housed by another structure referred to as the penis. The penis also hangs outside the man's body. Let us now go back to page 20 and look at our diagram there, how it is labeled. Remember I said we start all the way from the bottom, which is at the scrotum, and inside the scrotum we have the testis, and from the testis there is a tube connecting there called the vas deferens, and from the vas deferens we have a structure referred to as the seminal vessel, and from the seminal vessel we go into a structure known as the prostate gland, and from the prostate gland we have the urethra, which is in-housed by the penis. Please do not get confused with the urinary bladder. It is not part of the reproductive system. Let us go down to page 20, and on page 20 at the bottom we have the role of the male reproductive organs. And this table shows on the left side the organ name, and on the right side the function or the use of these organs. To begin with, the scrotum. The scrotum is responsible for temperature control and protects the testes. The testes are responsible to produce sperm cells and hormones. And in order for them to do this, they require an optimal temperature that is provided by the scrotum. And once they have been produced, then the sperm cells and hormones must travel through the vas deferens to the seminal vessel. And the seminal vessel will then produce seminal fluids and nourishment of the sperm cell. So the sperm cell will need nourishment to keep it alive and healthy. And then from there we have the prostate gland, which is responsible for producing fluids and nourishment, which will further aid the movement of the sperm cells. And all these contents will exit the male's body through the urethra out of the male's body. Let us now turn to page 21. On page 21, we have your activity 1, And here are your instructions to completing this activity. The first thing you need to do is study the diagrams that are provided for you. And once you have studied them in reference to today's lesson, only then can you complete this activity 1. And at number 1, you should describe any 2 differences between the male and female reproductive organs. So you look at the diagrams and then you describe any 2 differences between the male and female reproductive organs. And at number 2, you explain the role of the male and female reproductive organs below. A is the ovaries, B, uterus, C, oviduct, D, testis, and E, the prostate gland. Good luck with your studies, everyone. Please remember to sanitize after doing something, like I'm currently doing right now. I am sanitizing. And from me and my friend is goodbye.
Hi everyone, I'm Joshi. And make sure to always make a helicopter circle, stretching your arms out and spinning around like me. And make sure you're not touching anyone while doing this. Goodbye!
Win free airtime with #LearnOn1. Share your comments on the lessons. SMS your feedback, name and town to 555. #LearnOn1. Invite learning in.
Black sunrise, always gonna be a surprise, 'cause we don't know the way it's going to go, 'cause we can see the way it's going to be, 'cause we can see.
We're talking about COVID. Puberty, tell us about the day you found out you had COVID.
The day I found out I have COVID, it was a difficult day. I didn't understand how I got COVID, because I was always covered, I was always with my hand sanitizer. It came with my wife. And that whole day, I was thinking, what's gonna happen to me? I'm gonna survive. My kids, I was losing my tasting, smelling. There were some days I will test my taste buds and put like 4 or 5 chilies in my coffee. No ways. I didn't taste it.
So did you also lose your appetite in the process?
It was very funny. In the first week, no, I was chowing like I will wake up like midnight and make for me something. But after the first week, then the appetite was gone. When you go to bed, your body is also automatically switching off. And that's a dangerous time for COVID. It's like glass pinching you, cutting you inside your lungs. Then the heart was pumping like a rabbit pumps. You are losing a lot of fluids at night.
Is that through fever or what?
Yeah, it's through fever.
So have you experienced any side effects from having contracted COVID-19?
No, not yet. Maybe still coming, but not yet.
And your wife?
She was complaining about light head. It's an annoying headache. It's light, but it's annoying.
So basically you didn't take any prescribed medicine from the doctor to recover from COVID?
No, I didn't. The only thing I was using is desperate for my blood not to clot. Because for some people, when your lungs are really, really infected, your blood will start to clot from the lungs. Close all the airways. That's where we are passing. I'm smoking cigarette, and when you were a smoker and COVID in your lungs now.
So then after you both found out you had COVID, what did you guys do to protect the kids?
The kids move out from the house. The booties will come, then we'll collect everything for them and just put for them outside. When they came, just grab the food and go.
So what was the biggest battle for you? Was it mental or physical?
Mentally. Mentally was the biggest battle. I'm actually an international movie maker, and my career was cut off. I couldn't put bread on the table. There were some days we have one meal for the day and went to bed. And that was hitting me in my mind. What if Blessing gets corona now? Where am I going to go? Who can I help? There were also some people depend on us in the rural areas. We couldn't help them. My future was black. Dark, dark, dark. I couldn't even see that small light at the end of the tunnel. One day, my daughter decided now, I want to see my father today. And I just told her, yeah, she can come. The first words was, Daddy, I was praying for you yesterday night. Don't worry, Corona will go back soon. And I was asking, from where? From Namibia? She said, no, not from Namibia, from you. And you are not looking good. And she was actually heartbroken. Until today, she hates Corona. From there, then I was like, oh, okay. If the smallest one is saying this, why am I not picking me up self and do the right thing and get rid of this thing? That's where I started to run, to practice, coming to my quiet place. And actually, the main thing that broke my heart during that time was there was no one. The time of COVID, there was no one.
So can you tell us where we are right now?
We are at my silent place. I call this place my silent place. I will come here when the COVID is hitting me like 120%. Looking at the ocean, then you will hear voices like, no, you don't belong here. Today you don't belong here. Get up and go home. Some days they will nurse you like, no, you will survive. Your future is a bright future. You must not give up now. Think about your kids. Think about the people around you. Even the wind will do that. Actually, you must meditate. The thing of COVID is, looks like COVID is afraid of the warmness and is friends with the coldness. So the whole time you are baking in the sun, it helps a lot.
So is that what you did?
Yeah, I did. I will do that twice a day. This was supposed to be a golden year for me, a very, very good golden year for me, but then COVID decided, no, this is not going to be your golden year. Everything was cancelled. We, the filmmakers, this year, from the international shoots, lost lot of money.
You've lost 3 family members? Is it all due to COVID?
No, not all due to COVID. First one, my sister. She was very close to me. She contracted COVID April, and she was in ICU for 3 months. The COVID damaged her lungs, and at the stage her lungs collapsed and she couldn't breathe without the machines. Her kidneys failed, her liver has failed. COVID is real. First of all, COVID is real. It's not a joke. Most of the people, they fall away from COVID regulations. Still early to fall away from COVID regulations. We must still go in line with those COVID regulations.
And how long did you say it took you to recover?
3 weeks, 21 days.
What must somebody do to change your mind from that negative perspective to that positive?
COVID, no job, it's very dangerous. There was one day I just decided I'm gonna take a rope, go to the jetty, sit around there, and after all I will hang there by the jetty. The time I arrived here, there was no wind. Out of nowhere, the ocean was like angry, and it started to get cold. And I was like, but it was just nice weather. Then I sat down. Then the universe will talk with you, the wind, the sun, the ocean. That's the main thing of COVID. If you don't save yourself, no one will save you. And we must always appreciate what we have around us. That's the main thing in COVID. If you don't appreciate what you have around you, no, you will lose your head.
Smile, smile, smile. When you walk with me, I just want you to smile, smile.
My industry and what I've done with my hands in Namibia, it's going all over the world, and here you are, Papa G, you want to quit? Nah. I'm excited for 2021. It's not gonna be the same like 2020 now. I'm back in the groove.
Give me food, clothes, water, and shelter. Nothing else, no matter. You're my moonlight in my heaven. Let all my sins be forgiven. Happiness